What's up, friends, beer lovers, Theo bros, whoever you are out there listening to this crazy podcast that we call Pints and Perspectives? This is editing Cullen. I got a quick update on the episode that you're watching. We actually filmed this in late October before the election. And originally, I wanted it to be kind of like right around election day. And then I realized I didn't want to get anywhere near wrapped up with like churches and politics and like the crossover, lack of crossover, possible um, issues with nonprofit status, any of that, which I don't think this would have been. But I just wanted to be extra careful, so I didn't release it, and then I got tied up, and now here we are after November. But I think the election's still on everybody's mind. The Senate confirmations are coming, but join us for this really interesting, hopefully thought-provoking conversation that has several good, classic Pints of Perspectives jokes and shenanigans. So, see ya.
What are we talking about?
This damn beer right now.
Hey, you know what time it is. Once again, we are in your ears, in your face, in your life. It's them boys, the Pints and Perspectives.
Them Theo bros and I don't know.
Back
Some
at-
white dudes that like talking about Jesus.
I mean, I don't know about all that.
I mean, you literally still call yourself a Christian because of Jesus.
It's true. I like Jesus a lot.
Heard. Me too.
Not the American evangelical version, but
Heard. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that in just a minute.
imagine that. What kind of beer are we drinking today?
Hey, we gave you all a teaser
Did we?
before. Yes, about the glassware, remember?
No.
Because I told him the beer was changing.
Uh-huh.
And you were like,
Save that.
Save it. Don't tell him. Make it a cliffhanger. And I was like,
Well, there you go.
if you want an Easter egg, go back and you might have a hint.
Unknown
in some
caller.
glassware. And so, as you can see, I have the glassware back out. These are some great glasses that my grandmother actually got me. They say, the camera probably can't see that, but they say
yeah.
Ware Brewing Co. on them.
Where?
Where?
That's your last name.
Yeah, that's my last name. And I haven't been brewing because I've been living in an apartment since my divorce. Well, not no mo.
Woo!
Not no mo. When I moved into my new house, I knew immediately that I wanted to start brewing beer again. But I wanted to change it from the last time I brewed beer. Previously, when I was brewing beer before, I was bottling all my beer.
Oh, yeah.
That shit is for the dogs.
Yeah, that's so much more work.
So much more work. So I wanted to...
And storage. Where
Right.
you put all them bottles.
Right, exactly. And so I wanted to start kegging beer. And so I've had a whole mishap. I'm on the 2.3 of my Kegerator already.
You mean the version 2.3?
Version 2.3. I bought a Kegerator off a guy in Dallas, got it home, the compressor was shot in it.
Yeah.
So it became a parts Kegerator. Now,
Yeah.
luckily, I still got way more money off parts on it than I spent on the actual thing.
Well, there's
But-
that.
But I did have to go all the way to Dallas.
The mental anguish, too, right?
Yeah. So,
Speaking of mental anguish, keep going.
don't say it. Not yet.
Okay.
So, this is actually a beer that none of you will have ever tried.
Suckers.
Unless you're very close to me. And you will never be able to try.
Suckers.
But I hope you're enjoying a brew with us. This is my own homebrew, and it is a Kolsch recipe that I'm working on. This is the second time I have brewed it, the second batch.
Go ahead. I tried the first batch. I just want to say this batch is better. I know you said that you don't think so, but I do.
I don't think. Well, also you tried it just that first day when
That's
I was
true.
still struggling with getting into carb.
That's true. It wasn't fully carbonated. That's right.
But this one I had to use a different yeast in it. and I forgot the Whirlflock tab.
What did you just call me?
So and it's still mashed a little higher than I think. I want to drop the mash temp down a little bit because
Why?
Well, number one, it's a Kolsch, and you see how dark and heavy bodied it is.
It does look too dark to be a Kolsch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because I'm still mashing it too high. So I want to drop the mash temperature down a little bit more. It's also a little bit heavier on ABV than I think I would want.
Where are we at right now? What do you think?
I forgot to take my original gravity reading, so I don't.
You have no idea.
No, because I did take a final gravity.
Okay, and
I have an estimate of where it would have been for original gravity.
am I safe to drive?
Oh yeah, you'll be fine to
Okay,
drive,
good.
but I think it's more like 6 1/4.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you know what? I respect that. Because what's the goal though? To get it down to like a 4 1/4?
No, I would like it more like somewhere between like maybe 5 and 5 1/2.
Okay.
I feel like that's a respectable ABV, like for that, like
Yeah.
Coors Light or something is like 4 1/2, and like something like Shiner Bock is 5%.
The malt flavor on this.
Also, cheers, buddy.
Also, cheers. Pull it up. It's so good. It's like having it tastes like having your favorite sandwich.
Heard. I do get that. Now, you haven't commented on it yet. I will say, because it's my beer and I'm picky as hell about it. I've been using and experimenting specifically on this Kolsch with a new strain of yeast, and I say new to the market since it wasn't there when I was brewing 4 years ago. It's now on the market now.
What is it?
It's Kveik yeast.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. The reason you've never heard of it is because no commercial beer would ever use it. Because its only real value is it's super fast acting.
Oh, got it.
It'll ferment a whole beer in like less than 2 days.
Darn.
So that's great, right?
Yeah, I'd say.
Problem with that is it's not just that it's fast acting, it's expedited. Meaning everything about the yeast and fermentation process of the beer is expedited.
Okay.
So if you leave yeast or if you leave your beer in fermentation too long without moving it to a secondary fermentation chamber, the yeast stays in there and begins to eat away some of the fatty acids that are in the beer, and it leaves a soapy flavor.
Oh, interesting.
But it usually takes like somewhere around like 5 or more weeks of being in fermentation. But because this is expedited,
Interesting. Okay.
this happens in like less than 10 days.
So you got to be on your bullshit.
Yeah. And I've been able to cover it up with a heavier carbonation exchange in the bottle or in the keg. But when it was carbonating, because I didn't force carbonate it, I let it carbonate over time in the Kegerator. I was trying it after about a week, and it wasn't quite there, and I could really get that soapy flavor.
Interesting. Okay.
But I've been able to cover it up with a higher carbonation level. But I only let it ride like 8 days.
Okay.
But like the yeast was so fast acting, it definitely had a soapy flavor that I've hidden now. But it's getting there. If you want a mash bill, I don't know if any of you do, but it's 10 pounds of domestic 2-row here in America, and it's 1 pound of honey malt, about 20 Lovabond honey malt, and it has Hallertau hops with Kveik yeast, the Lauster strain of the Kveik yeast.
That was a bunch of words. Wait, that was supposed to be a laugh track. It's not a laugh track anymore. No, this is good. Dead air. Well, good job. Is this the part of the show where we give the beer a rating, or do we suspend our rating system because it's your beer and you'd be offended if I were honest?
No.
Are we still gonna do?
You should know I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I want the rating.
Well, now here's the thing. You messed me up with the whole over yeasting thing.
You didn't taste it.
No, I didn't. But
So you
now,
can't rate off that.
No,
you
you're
don't
right.
know.
But now
and
I'm like,
some of your favorite beers have been fuck-ups. And whiskeys, I might add. You remember the Crowded Barrel, Errant Barrel?
yeah, oh yes.
That was a fuck-up.
Well, now I'm like looking for the yeast. No,
You're not going to get it.
I've
covered it up, but
I am not a Kolsch drinker usually. Like if I'm going to go to a bar or to a store and make a purchase, it's not going to be a Kolsch.
Yeah.
So with that in mind as my baseline, I give it like a 6.8.
that's exactly what I give it.
6.8?
6.8, yeah. That's exactly what I think it is right now.
Pull it up.
I would also say that this is we should really be calling this a Kolsch style. Because technically for it to be a Kolsch, has to be brewed in Kolsch, Germany.
Kolscherland?
Yep. So we should call it Kolsch style.
Yeah, that's right.
But I should also say that based on the things that have happened, the higher mash temp, like the things I need to change on it, it should really be, the way it is in this batch, it should really be called more like a golden ale.
Okay, I get that.
It's not, that's why you keep saying it tastes like I'm taking a sip of bread.
Yeah.
Because it should really be a golden.
Okay.
It's got too much body and too much malt flavor in it for a true Kolsch.
But I like it.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
But
it is more than.
It's not what I was going for.
It is more than a Kolsch.
And so I'm gonna keep brewing this until I get it right. I just brewed Monday. I just brewed on Monday Irish Red.
Ooh.
It's fermenting over in the closet.
Don't make it soapy in 8 days.
Well, I did different yeast.
Aha. When is that one going to be ready? I'll be here.
It'll definitely be ready by the time you're back for filming. But
is it going to be boozy AF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be because I also mashed it too high.
Yeah, nice. Keep on mashing too high.
Yeah, so I just over here being a lush, mashing everything too high, extracting way too many sugars and f***ing people up.
But look, man, you're making your own. So, go off, queen.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Also, it is kind of cool having beer on tap at your house.
Oh, really?
In a kegerator.
No kidding.
All the time. And
a variety of beers, not just a beer, a variety of beers. He's also got a keg of Coors in there now.
Yeah, a commercial keg of Coors. Yeah. And I had an Oktoberfest in there.
Wah. Oh, wait, I have a sound for that. Nope. Done.
I had an Oktoberfest in there, and that's what we were going to be drinking on this episode.
I'm so sad. The only reason I came out today was to have the Oktoberfest.
But
I mean...
Yeah. But my kegerator developed a leak somehow. I'm still diagnosing how it happened.
Well,
the keg did. The keg, I'm pretty sure the port on the keg for the Oktoberfest, it either wasn't seated right with the disconnect or that port is messed up. But I don't think that port is messed up because that's the one I put the
other one on,
the Kolsch one in
that we had.
So I think it's
full confession here. There is a part of me that is tempted to find a ladle and
sift it out of there
and soup me some out of the bottom of that nasty ass keg.
So I would say it wasn't nasty. It was 100% sanitized.
Well, yeah, until
in every way that you could imagine.
Inside the keg, it was.
No. In the kegerator, the vessel. When I was rebuilding it, and after I put it all back together. But the beef now would be flat AF.
And it's been like juicing in keg metals and
you should not do that. But live your life, bro. If you want to, I'm not gonna stop you.
Maybe a teaspoon, not a ladle. I don't
know. There we go. We'll get a tablespoon. Report back on the next episode.
I just wanted it so bad.
Yeah, but the red's in there, and I have a grain bag left, and all the ingredients. I'm also doing a wit beer. I'll probably do that probably next week. I'll probably brew that one. But my parents used to live in Belgium for a little bit. My dad was an oil and gas expat, and they developed some good friends living there for multiple years, as you might imagine. And one of their friends is coming here. In like next month.
Got
and
it.
So I reached out to her and was like, "Hey, I'm back brewing beer," which I wasn't doing since I've like met you, since y'all came back from Belgium. I want to try my hand at brewing your favorite beer because you live in the brewing capital of the world.
Yeah.
And her favorite is actually a Vendette. But I am limited not being in Belgium.
No kidding.
To the types of grains that you need for a Vendette grain bill. And so I had to settle for a wit beer.
Oh, okay. So you're doing the wit beer for her.
But I'm doing a wit beer for her with coriander seeds and orange peels.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
You're going to make the Ware version of a good Blue Moon.
I guess that is what it's like, a similar to a Blue Moon copycat.
I'm sure it'll be much better, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It'll probably be boozy as fuck, too.
Smash that mash, you know what I'm saying?
Smash that mash. Have you ever had a smash beer?
Yeah, of course. Single malt, single hop.
Yep.
Those are my favorites. My favorite beer.
The Yellow Rose Smash IPA?
Yep. Yep. That's the best beer in Texas, if you ask me.
I'm going to develop a Smash IPA.
We've done a lot of pints, but we've not done a lot of perspectives.
Not yet. I don't know how long how far we in. Maybe like 15 minutes.
I have no clue.
I'm guessing. But there'll be chapter markers if you want to skip our beer nonsense. So it only makes sense. We're filming this, as you might imagine, by me commenting that we were going to be drinking Oktoberfest. We're filming this in October. And it's going to come out in November. And so
the world might be over.
Maybe. And depending on what we say in this podcast, the government may be after us. I tell Clayton that all the time. Clayton asked me the other day, he was like, if you had to live somewhere other than the U.S., where would you go? And I was like, somewhere with no extradition to the U.S. And he was like, why? And I was like, because dead ass, if Donald Trump is elected with a trifecta sweep, dude, he's coming after anyone that has said anything bad about him.
He said,
and I got like 3 years of talking on the internet about Donald Trump.
Real talk. Never mind. Sometimes I do censor myself. Sometimes I do stop and say, what platform am I on? Is it owned by an eccentric billionaire who could legitimately pay people to come to my house and kill me? Should I post this about Donald Trump on his platform? No, I should not. Hold on, I was going to say something else. So are we going to talk about politics then?
In some way, but not, I mean, more so what I kind of want to, I think what I want to do is like a thought experiment here.
Oh, Lord.
And I really want to weigh, like, asking the question, if Jesus lived in 2024 in America, how would he view politics? How would he engage with politics? And possibly even thought experiment out based on his values who he might vote for.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. That sounds like a fun thought experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first of all, I guess the first question is, do you think he'd be an engaged political citizen, or do you think he would be like not worried about it?
I'm like, I don't. Okay. Obviously everything here is conjecture, opinion, whatever. But, Jesus was, if we take the biblical testimony of Jesus's life to be the historical record that we're working from, and we look at that time period and we look at the context that Jesus is in politically, you have it's a very, very different political context because
for sure.
because he's living in an occupied land that has like a local government, but is really kind of under the thumb of an empire,
Right.
a foreign empire, right? Rome.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Rome. So the politics of the day is you have Rome, but then you also have this like Jewish political local reality between the religious leaders, and so it's just a big hodgepodge. And so when you look at Jesus, here, I'm going somewhere with this. So when you look at Jesus, which one of the major political powers did he align with in his day?
Yeah, so
None of them. None.
well,
Who?
so I'm not saying that he necessarily aligned with him. He was very much vocally against the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees, which is like the local Jewish government you're
Yeah.
speaking about.
So like maybe the local government, the state government, if we're looking for like an analogy here.
Once again, it's an analogy. It's not a perfect reference point. But you see those dynamics play out best, honestly, in his trial.
Okay.
Because remember, they do not have the authority to kill him. That's why they take him to Pontius Pilate.
To the Roman authority. So, but you wouldn't say that Jesus you wouldn't look at Jesus' life and say, yeah, he aligned with the Roman political power.
But he definitely has moments where you could say he wants to play within the bounds of them. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and unto God's what is God's.
Yeah. So, okay.
He goes to do the census as a baby, so he comes from a family that isn't being like an anarchist. He's not coming from a zealot family group.
So he at least observes the law.
Yeah, I think that.
Even though I'm not.
Not Jewish law.
Not necessarily. Yeah, hold on. The like law of the civil law,
Caesar's law,
not necessarily the religious law. Obviously,
the governmental law.
Yeah, right. There's like a whole we could go down a bunny trail of how Jesus reinterprets the law, right? The religious law.
Yeah,
the religious law.
Yeah.
But no, I'm talking about like the political, which I guess is all political. But but what I'm getting at is like, so you also have these other political factions of his day, the zealots. A lot of people thought, well, maybe he's a zealot, but he didn't. He wasn't. There were some similarities, but he didn't. He wasn't willing to bear arms and other things that the zealots were doing. He certainly wasn't a Sadducee. He certainly wasn't a Pharisee. He certainly wasn't.
What was the other one? The Essenes, the crazy ones that
Essenes?
Those are the zealots. Yeah. Or one of the zealots.
Well, they like remove themselves from society and like
you also had the Herodians, which
Herodians,
maybe they're worth talking about too, because if you remember, I think it's in Luke 14 when Jesus gets word that John the Baptist has been beheaded.
Yeah.
He calls Herod a bitch.
Yeah, a she-fox.
A she-fox.
In soft clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And so he definitely has moments where he's like using like really animated and vile language for his day towards political leaders, and not just his local ones. Because like, you know this, but one of the harshest name callings Jesus ever does in the Gospels is when he calls the Pharisees a brood of vipers.
Yeah, right. They get really upset about that.
Yeah, it's like it's quite the slanderous comment in that day.
So I mean, he's taking shots at everybody. I guess. Yeah,
nobody's off limits.
I guess what I'm getting at is like, if you were to import that same dynamic into today, maybe he would be a really vocal critic of the Democrats, the Republicans, everyone.
I think he would be a critic of the system.
But
I think he'd constantly be pointing out the flaws.
So is he then a revolutionary?
He was in his own day. So why wouldn't he be in this one?
I guess he was in the sense that like
reinterpreting the law, constantly giving people in his own little Jewish community a different way to think about the governmental rule.
So
even to the point where once you have Paul, going and doing apostleship stuff, he's still talking about making sure you're following governmental law and rule.
Yeah. So, like, what's the analogy of that today?
Probably like an independent
Bernie,
journalist type,
Bernie,
like a
Bernie Sanders, maybe.
well, no, because he wouldn't be a politician.
See, yeah, that's a great point. So, it would be like
It's like like it would be like an independent journalist that's not. He's not bound by like some network he's not going to be like broadcast on national television. So he's not going to be, like limited by FCC rulings or anything.
Do you know who Steve Inskeep is? He's a reporter with NPR.
Oh, okay.
Like, is Jesus Steve Inskeep? Like,
but NPR is not independent media.
Yes, it is. Publicly funded. National Public Radio.
I guess that's true.
It's not owned by any corporations. It's owned by me. I own NPR, or at least a very, 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 very small fraction of it I contribute to.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
It's the only.
But it wouldn't be. Well,
it's the only truly non-corporate major media.
Bullshit. Independent YouTube creators that are just
major media. Obviously, there's tons of.
Yeah, but he wouldn't
people.
be major media.
NPR.
No, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh,
nothing about him and his history in the Bible says that he would have gotten national standing out of the gate.
So Jesus was the first YouTube star. Jesus is Joe Rogan.
Jesus is independent media, I think. Like, I don't know what, he's like an itinerant preacher. He's like independent media.
Yeah, interesting. So then his participation in this political cycle would be one of abstention?
Well,
would he vote at all? Would he even participate in the process?
He tells people to pay taxes.
Well, that's different. You go to jail if you or you have a fine. There's a punitive response to not paying taxes. There's no punitive response to not voting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But if voting is what grants you, or if paying taxes and staying in good standing with the government is what grants you a right,
would Jesus even...
As a citizen, I don't think he would tell someone not to utilize their right.
Would Jesus even be okay with democracy? Ooh, got him on that one, y'all.
That's a good question.
I mean, because he declares himself a monarchical head. He's a king. Is democracy inherently antichrist? See, look.
Well, this
is how MAGA starts right here. Donald Trump has absolute power. See, this is how it happens.
But wait. If Jesus were against democracy, that would mean he would be for monarchy.
Well, he is clearly for monarchy.
But he kills himself.
Which is weird, but that doesn't change his authority.
It doesn't change the authority or the
political structure.
Political structure, the bureaucratic governmental.
It just means that he's
the medium, but it does communicate the type of king he would have to be.
Yes, a very different type of king. Although he is a king with the superpower of overcoming death, so maybe death wasn't that big of a deal if he had the power to overcome it to begin with. I don't know. That's a whole other thought experiment.
Well, on that point, the thing about that for me is that is God experienced something that God never knew and never had to know.
Sure, yeah, right.
And so in that way, it's the most frightening thing that they could do because they don't actually know that they can beat it.
It's a big sacrifice, no doubt.
And a big risk. I mean, if you really think about it as like two cosmic wars, like that is the moment that it's won.
Yeah.
But like, they didn't know that.
So then but how does that change whether or not Jesus would be in favor of democracy?
Well,
like Jesus is only in favor of monarchy if he's the monarch. In all other political systems in which he is not the monarch, he is in favor of a variety of other political systems. Because clearly I'm just from like a Christian theological perspective, an Orthodox perspective, like no other king could be better than King Jesus. all other kings. And maybe this is why, like, the whole situation with Saul in the Old Testament, like, I told y'all didn't want an effing king.
Yeah.
And now you got one, and now you got to pay the price.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Is like, if you look at the governmental structure that the Israelites originally tried to work under, it's like that theocracy with the judges,
Which is crazy.
Right, but that's...
Look around the world and give me an example of one theocracy that doesn't behead people and oppress women. You want to know what's wrong with the Middle East? Theocracies is what's wrong with the Middle East. You give me one country that isn't trying to genocide the other one, that isn't literally trying to enact the theocracy.
Yeah,
get out of here.
No, it's true.
Sorry.
You're absolutely
right.
Side
note.
I don't disagree with anything of that. It's not, because like humans are corrupted, and
exactly.
It's too easy to be like, God told me.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, man, you got me on the would Jesus even be pro democracy? I gotta believe that. I personally just have to, I guess, believe that he would, because that's kind of how the church develops in its early points. It's like very democratic. There's no real leader. It's just
what church are you talking about?
No. Like Paul's original house churches that he's setting up in these places.
First century church, very decentralized.
Yes,
but
very much so.
Yeah, localized.
Yeah. And it's very much like, if you think about the Corinthian worship experiences and like what's happening in 1 Corinthians 11, like the big beef there is like the rich people are having the banquet meal too early, and all the working class are still working, and when they get off work, there's no food left.
Yeah, so I wonder is Jesus then, I'm going to take it a step further, then maybe Jesus, is he anti-representative democracy? Because there's direct democracy, which is every individual participant has an individual vote
on every issue,
on every single issue, and that is weighted evenly across every individual. But that is not the democracy we live in.
No,
we live in a representative democracy
it's not even fair to call what we have as a democracy. It's a representative republic.
A republic is a type of democracy, though.
Right, but it's
still
not,
a democracy.
But it's not truly democracy, because
it is.
True democracy is every person having a singular vote on everything.
No, that's a direct democracy comes in flavors. That is one of the flavors.
No.
Representative democracy is another flavor.
A republic is not a democracy in the same way. It is a representative government that is elected through a democratic process, but it is not.
Which is a democracy.
No, it is a bureaucracy.
No.
But it is not a democracy in the same way that like Plato was talking about and Aristotle are talking about.
Well, I don't know Plato's definition of democracy, to be exact, but what I'm saying is democracy, big category, variations of democracy in action. Bureaucracy is a form of democracy, but it's still a democracy. A republic is a form of democracy. It's still a democracy.
Semantics, but
the triumvirate in ancient Greece is nothing like what we have today, but it was a representative republic, which is still a democracy. It's not a democracy I want to live in, but it is a type of democracy. Democracy, big umbrella, various kinds. Sure, we're a republic, but that doesn't mean we're not a democracy.
It means we have a democratic process, but
which would make you a democracy.
No, it means you have democratic elements of your government.
Which makes it a democracy.
No, it doesn't.
Compared to what? What's the opposite of a democracy?
A monarchy, an oligarchy, an aristocracy. I mean, there's so many of them.
Do we have any of those in America?
No.
It's because we have a
republic.
Oh, so you're saying a republic
is
the opposite of a democracy?
No.
It is different from a democracy.
Yes.
A republic is not a democracy.
A republic has democratic elements to a aristocratic rule. Because like even your representative governor or like your representative that goes to vote for you, they don't have to vote the same way that their constituents would want them to vote.
Right.
They can vote however the they want. That's not a democracy. That is you having a democratic process of electing a person to go represent you that has every bit of right to vote however the hell they want, irregardless of what their constituents want.
That's a representative democracy.
That is a republic.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Semantics.
Okay.
But so along with that, there's decent evidence to say that Jesus could have known about democratic processes. Because of Plato. Jesus doesn't travel that much, but living in Jerusalem.
You think Jesus read Plato?
No, but Jesus was a like a rabbi and a teacher, and constantly in conversation about these things. He definitely would have come across, at least in premise, some of these concepts.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Even
culturally, yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
even like having to deal with like the Roman Empire and like just growing up, like people talking about the old days and like maybe the things that they think would happen.
Yeah.
And like how they could make it better and be like, oh yeah, I heard about this thing that Greece did a couple hundred years ago, and it was like an experiment that seemed cool.
Yeah. So
because like you also got to remember in those days, empires turned over pretty regularly.
Not in those days. Rome had a pretty firm hold for
how many hundred years? Like 350?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, Greece had it for 400 years. The Turkish Empire probably had the longest reign of like almost 800.
Well, so what I'm saying
is,
that's
a different part of the world. So like empires definitely could hold for a long time, but it also wasn't that uncommon to see them collapse after a few hundred years. I might mind everyone that we're right around the 250 mark, 275. Like, just be aware.
Wait a minute.
This experiment could end this go round.
Are you saying that America is actually an empire?
I think we're a world power, definitely in a way.
Well, that's not an empire. You could be a world power and not be an empire.
Explain to me that nuance.
Well, empire is just about power and expansion.
Right. And we didn't colonize nobody.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't do no shit that was about power and expansion and manifest destiny.
Absolutely.
And we don't currently do shit about getting involved in fights that ain't
100%.
ours, about trying to enact our rule of life on other people around the world.
Yes.
That feels very empirical, bro.
We are an empire. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm just saying it doesn't have to necessarily mean that you are a world power.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, but we definitely are.
We invented him. No, we didn't.
No, we
That's the
definitely
British.
did not
Anyways.
We definitely did not invent empire.
No.
I guess according to our oldest pseudo-history book, the Egyptians would have invented empire.
Now, that's an interesting thought experiment. To what degree is empire? Yeah, anyways. All right. So, Jesus, what? What are we doing?
So, yeah, I guess. So now we need to ask the question, like, I guess we went on a rabbit trail about whether or not Jesus would be pro-democracy or not. But coming back to full circle, like if Jesus lived today, and I guess we concluded he's like an independent media person in this analogy, would he vote?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's so anti-system and stands outside of, first of all, I don't think there's anything as true objectivity. I think even the most objective journalist who claims to be the most neutral person and the most fair and balanced person, bull honky, they have an opinion somewhere deep inside their psyche.
Sure, inherent bias is like,
you don't avoid that. There's no such thing as objectivity, pure objectivity. But that being said,
postmodern of you.
I think welcome to the world.
2 + 2 is definitely 4, bro. That is objective as fuck.
I don't know about that. How are we defining 2?
The periodic table has a certain finite amount of elements on it.
You don't know that.
That is objective as fuck.
Dude, they're discovering all sorts of new crap on Mars. Okay. You don't know how many elements are in any sort of table. Anyways, where was I going with that? You totally threw me off.
You were talking about everybody has a bias. Nobody's 100%
Yeah,
objective.
so I think Jesus, therefore, I think in the analogy, right? Like, I think Jesus would not participate. He would sit out in a way to be objective and as a way to protest the system.
Well, I don't think that's true because his goal being here would not be to dismantle empire.
Isn't that literally what he said he was coming to do? But like
didn't he
spiritually,
do it? Yeah, didn't he end up doing it in a way that nobody thought he was talking about?
Oh, fair.
Yeah, so like his goal, the political shit would always be a conversation point for the larger agenda, and that would still be true today. So it would just be something that he's fucking with, and apparently he thought enough of the federal government in our analogy, to tell people to keep paying their taxes.
Well, because they would go to jail or be like murdered otherwise.
Right.
I think that was just like really good, like local stewardship. Like, hey, just pay your friggin' taxes. You know what I mean? Plus, it was the religious leaders that were also trying to catch him in a trap, and it was also a really
That's
good.
true.
It was a good Jesus juke that I have a few sermons on in my back pocket.
Yeah.
But,
well, okay, so maybe how much should we be allowed to like pull off Paul's ideas, being the next closest person to Jesus we get writings about?
I don't know, man.
Because
Did Paul even write those letters? Cullen?
based on Romans, which he definitely wrote that one, and Paul's political ideas that he's spouting in Romans, I feel like he would definitely tell people to vote.
I think if we're talking about Paul, who is not Jesus, I think it's a different conversation. Yeah. I think Paul was obviously more, once again, back to my original question, circling all the way back, like when you look at Paul's life, is there any sort of political affiliation that you can see that he clearly identifies with? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fuck.
In fact, he kind of lists off all of his branding a couple times.
Yeah, he's like, in our analogy today, the government would list him as a domestic terrorist.
Paul?
Yeah, dude, he's arrested multiple times for breaking laws about.
Oh, I was more so referencing like the fact that I'm a Roman citizen. I'm a Pharisee, of Pharisees.
Yeah, well, he's really proud about that, but he's also constantly arrested.
Well,
because he's breaking laws.
Yeah, I mean, he's extremely politically active if we look at it like that. Which Jesus is not. I mean, maybe you could.
I mean, Jesus is literally crucified as a political
insurrectionist.
Right.
Yeah. Donald Trump.
Don't tell the Christians that.
Jesus would not vote for Donald Trump. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I gotta believe that. Right?
I'm not saying he would vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
But I know damn well he would not be voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah, the grab him by the pussy thing is probably let alone enough that he's not voting for a person like that, right?
Probably. What
I gotta believe that, and not to mention the January 6th thing.
What about the raping?
Yeah. I forgot about those. Not to mention the 34 convicted felonies.
The theft, the lies, come on, man.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think he'd be voting for Trump. But I agree with you. I don't think it's like a guarantee that he'd be voting for Kamala Harris.
Mm-mm.
Like I have.
This is the difference.
In every presidential election I've ever voted in, I've never voted for a major party candidate at the top of the ticket.
Right. I know.
Because I want to have a protest vote.
Right.
I think the two-party system is not representative of most people living in America.
Jesus might just vote for Cornel West. Maybe. Is Cornell even still running?
Yes, he is still running. And ironically, most of his funding is coming from the Trump campaign.
Because they know it pulls votes away from Kamala. Of course. All third-party votes pull votes away from Kamala, not Donald Trump.
But also, depending on what state Jesus lived in, he wouldn't have access to vote for Cornel West.
Jesus is a Nikki Haley voter.
The little brown girl.
I don't know that. I mean, I'm glad you drew the distinction with Paul. That's so good, right? Because Jesus, I think, is pretty intentionally neutral. Obviously, he's a revolutionary. He's an upstart. Yes, he gets executed by the government because the government is intimidated by him. But, so was Martin Luther King Jr.
I actually don't know that I agree with that statement.
Wait, which one?
That he was executed because the government was intimidated by him.
Well, the local government clearly was.
Yeah, but I think Pontius Pilate, who initially gives the go, is intimidated by the Jews.
Right, okay. So sure. Pilate even
that would never happen in our current analogy.
Pilate even says, like, why I don't want to kill this dude. He didn't do anything freaking wrong. And then
and you just made me let go a literal insurrectionist.
Right? And so I do think, I'm not saying Jesus wouldn't have an influence, impact, effect on politics. I'm just saying he wouldn't be giving campaign rallies for a candidate.
Yeah. Also, we didn't talk about this, but would Jesus maybe have to have a church?
What?
Or no, he would just go to church. And I think he'd be very outspoken.
Dude, would Jesus go to church? Why would he go to church?
Well, he went to synagogue.
It's because he was a Jew.
Right.
He's.
Oh, I guess he would still go to synagogue.
Yeah,
yeah, good point.
No, plenty of Jews who go to synagogue, and it is not about religion. I mean, it's not about like some worship practice. It's about it's the act. It's the culture.
Yeah.
It's what you do. It's community. It's all those things.
So
I don't know that he's going to freaking.
So if Jesus lived in 2024, would he be rich?
It's racist.
It's not racist. It's
no,
a good
he
joke.
wouldn't be. He wouldn't be though.
Because all of them weren't. But now. I apologize for absolutely nothing. That was a great joke.
I do not condone anti-Semitism in any form.
It's not anti. They're rich. There's nothing bad about it.
I know poor Jews. I know really poor Jews.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
You gotta stop. That's so bad. No, and look, I think Jesus.
And I know Asians that drive well.
Wait, what'd you say? What?
I said, and I know Asians that drive well.
That has to be the end of the episode.
I'll bleep it.
No, you won't.
Maybe I will. I bleeped on the last on.
Kevin and Missy, come get your child. He's out here wilding.
Oh,
I know y'all are worse. Y'all are laughing.
They're not worse.
Y'all are laughing.
My dad's probably laughing.
I think Jesus would not vote, but I think
that's yeah.
I think you should though.
I definitely don't think he'd be voting for a major party candidate. Because I do think his main objective would be reform of the system, and
he would write himself in.
No, I don't think that. He's not hubris like that. Plus, he don't want that.
King
That's
of
not
Kings.
what he's here for.
He said, "I am."
But he might write somebody in
himself.
No, I don't think he'd do that.
Who else? Who else would Jesus think should have the most power and authority?
John the Baptist? I don't know. It would be some wild person. It would be somebody that don't make no sense.
I don't know, man. I think theologically,
Lazarus.
What makes him a good leader of people?
He's some kind of business owner, apparently, based on his ability to let his sisters live with him and have just be around anytime Jesus needs him.
Yeah, they got money somehow, but
right. But they don't have a ton of money because they don't have like house help. They don't have servants.
Right. And Mary went off and spent all their inheritance.
No. What?
What's Judas say?
When?
Right? Isn't it Martha and Mary? Am I getting my stories?
No. Martha and Mary have that whole thing.
Oh, am I getting my? I might be.
But you're mixing up your Marys.
I'm getting. No. Who's the one that breaks the costly vial of perfume that's worth a year's salary?
Yeah, that's not Mary Magdalene.
No, I know it's not. Mary Magdalene ain't the Martha Mary either. See?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We don't know what we're talking about. This
No, it's been a minute, I guess. But yeah, so you're saying it's the Mary that Mary and Martha is the same Mary that broke the vial?
Because doesn't Martha be like, Jesus, tell Mary to get up off her ass and get in there and clean the kitchen?
Yes.
She's just sitting here at your feet. And then I think it's a difference in the gospel. I think it's a different gospel story.
Well,
and then there's another time where it's like Mary was at his feet and weeping and like drying her tears off his feet with her hair, and she like breaks the costly vial of perfume, and Judas is like, why is she doing that?
We could
think about all the things we could do with that.
Yeah.
And what does Jesus say? She's paid the greatest price or whatever because she knows who I am.
Yeah, and you think that's the same Mary?
Is it?
I don't think so. I think that's a different person.
Andy Arterberry, if you just happen to be out there listening to me right now, weigh in here. He would know.
Oh, yeah, of course he would know.
New Testament scholar.
That's so funny. Yeah, of course he would know. Yeah, I don't think that's the same person.
Which beer is yours?
I could be wrong. This one.
How long's this episode gonna be?
I don't know.
That red light's still on, so I guess we're still cooking.
No,
huh?
it's still cooking, bro.
Well, I do have a meeting in 30 minutes.
Yeah, but I think, as always, I hope you leave this podcast.
We're able to follow this train of random thoughts.
That as well. But I also hope you leave with more questions than you got answers for.
Oh, they did that.
That's what we're doing. I got no intention of trying to, tell you how to live your life. That between you, your people, and God. But I do hope that our conversations are thought-provoking. I hope you're hearing different perspectives, some things that are making you question and be curious about things you hadn't thought about before. And Jesus and like the political conversation has so much nuance there that you can lean into just in the different way you try to interpret these texts and the way you view the world. So yeah, I hope that I'm not going to tell you how to vote by any means. And I do think that Jesus would vote.
Okay.
If he were an American citizen, I do think he would participate in all the rights and privileges that citizenship gave him.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he has. I think I could.
You think if he got drafted, he would go? Anyways, that's another podcast.
Ooh.
That's another podcast. I don't think he would.
Well, probably not now because he's got enough money that he could just pay.
Oh
like
my
Donald Trump
God,
did.
you're so racist.
I'm not.
I do not
They're jokes.
endorse your anti-Semitic jokes.
It's not anti-Semitic. They're just jokes.
Boo.
They are jokes.
Hey, join us on the next episode of Pints and Perspectives, where we hope we're still here and not canceled.
See ya.